I loved SLEWS 6-day self-portrait art challenge, but it's kind of old news at this point. And I don't really have 6 days to waste and wait until tomorrow to paint my next piece. I'm gonna have to do a similar challenge, all in one day. I'm gonna create 7. Yes, that is one more than SLEWS 6-day portraits. But instead of sticking to one medium, I'll be producing a separate self-portrait with 7 different mediums. The mediums I have selected are all mediums I have. As a known artist, I accumulate art materials by just my nature, and I couldn't imagine spending money on content before I have 100 subscribers. Here's the mediums in order I'll be attempting them. First, I'll be attempting the self-portrait with pencil crayons. Very cheap ones, 23 colors, since my yellow ochre crayon had a lead that was so off-center I couldn't even use a pencil sharpener. Trash. The second portrait will be in a painted with acrylics, the medium that I started with. I'll be using my best acrylics I have, my Winsor & Newton colors I have, and my Artscape to flesh out the rest of my palette. Third, I'll bust out my watercolors. These were a gift from a friend, Dollar Rowney brand. They seem pretty good. I rarely water paint, and it'll be one of the harder challenges of the day. My fourth portrait will be done in markers. This is a recent addition to my challenge in conceiving it. I wasn't going to use markers, but in a thrift store I was trying to buy a prop for a film I'm shooting. I happened to find a 12 set of Prismacolor markers for $3. It seemed to be a pretty good deal, and I was watching art YouTubers and hearing Prismacolor so much, I had to just step it up and try it out. The fifth one, I'll be doing a digital portrait in the program Krita, because that is all I have on my Mac. I'm not very knowledgeable with digital art, but I'm familiar enough and often don't have a vision to use I use a photo as a digital canvas. It tends to be a liberating medium, as I feel it's easier to delete something I don't like than throw away or paint over art I dislike. The sixth portrait is another wild card. It was suggested that I attempt a clay portrait. I loved the idea, but I didn't want to buy any new materials for the project. But in the days leading up to this project, when the idea was ruminating in my mind, I was cleaning up my house and I happened to find an old pack of clay from the dollar store. This will be the least permanent portrait, as the clay isn't hardening, it's meant just for play. And to finish up the 7 portraits, keep in mind I'm planning to paint this all in one day. I'll be doing an oil portrait. I've been practicing my oil portraits in particular. I feel like it should be the most successful, factoring in I have a good mood at this point, not too burnt out because it's gonna be a long day. But enough pitter patter, let's get at her. But first of all, I'm gonna need a reference photo.
But first, let me take a selfie.
After I filmed this, I just took a selfie. I never take them, but man, I'm pretty. Starting off 5 of these art pieces, I'll be using a regular number 2 pencil. I often said I couldn't draw, and I was getting on to 5 years of painting, an epic amount, that I decided to pick up a pencil and just draw. Still lifes of nudes, and then my imagination. I'm very happy with my first portrait today. I picked pencil crayons to warm up with, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. But we have tons of portraits to paint today. Let's move on to the acrylic piece. Second portrait. Before I started painting, I needed to get my palette ready. Everything was fine with the Winsor & Newton, but my Artscape paints have seen better days. Each paint was a little bit dry, and the blue was so dry its consistency was more similar to putty than paint, unusable. So I got a basic brand paint blue to replace it. I feel like I'm returning to my roots with this piece, but I'm not painting a cat. I would have tackled this piece a while back way different. After painting with oils for so long, I had to tackle this a little differently. I feel like any paint would be like oil paint, but no, acrylic is different. But at the same time, I'm happy with the results. I feel very much like it's a character. And I think that's a sign of my style materializing. I bought a liner brush recently. It's the first time I bought a brush that wasn't from the dollar store, and I utilize it for details here, and today quite a bit.
water painting. I thought I was better than I was. I felt the pigments were light, but I realized that may just be watercolor. It feels good to exercise my painting skills in all mediums, but I never painted a portrait in water before. But it's not half bad. The markers was also a new experience for me. I only had the harsh colors, just the basics, the primaries, the secondaries, so I took some liberties and played with a few colors. I also tried to brush on some isopropyl alcohol to blend the colors to avoid mixing and dirtying the marker tips. But the trick was a bust. Didn't harm anything, but it also didn't help.
Painting in a digital format is a freeing medium you all should take. All you need is your phone or Mario Paint, who knows what you can create. Staying forever young is a rich man's game, avoiding death, not living life. Growing old and making mistakes is a privilege for those who weave in strife. All I ever wanted to do was create, feeling empty until I met that paint. It's up for me what I create, until then it's just a bucket of paint. There is nothing on the screen, it's as blank as a new canvas. It's there to reflect your soul, but nobody is left to understand us. Rotting in a dump, admired by many, hanging in a museum. The art supplies are all the same, it's only you who can see them. I just got one more thing to say before I could drop the mic. My lyrics are tight, my blessing is chopped, subscribe and drop a like.
What a long day. The sixth painting is clay. I was thinking I wanted to make a 3D model of my head, but I didn't really feel like moving the tripod. I ended up using the color of the clay to paint, as it were. If I were to do this one again, I would spend more time mixing the clay and possibly do a thinner layer. I'm happy with the results though, and I have a feeling my style of my digital painting bled over big time to this portrait. Also, if I were to do it again, I would like to get the hardening clay so it would be permanent. What do you think I should do with this portrait? Should do something fun with it because it's destined for the trash. And hey, would you look at that? We're down to our final portrait. GP does! This is my 30th oil portrait in my series of 100. My third self-oil portrait. It didn't turn out as well as I thought it could have. I felt I could have done better, but creating self-portraits in the same day may have stolen a bit of my thunder. With the lashes in the final piece and my overall cuteness, it came off very feminine. I know I'm a very masculine guy. Just by looking at me you could tell. But I view myself a little more feminine than you might think. I thought about learning makeup just to help my painting skills, but I probably won't anytime soon, as I don't want to have to shave my beard and I don't want to have to buy any makeup supplies. I have 70 portraits left on my to-do list, and my list of potential people to paint is about that long. Choosing an ex-person will not be a challenge to me. Portraying them with oil paint may be a challenge. Whoever it may be. I hope you find some inspiration in my challenge. I hope it may inspire you to create some way. I took a bunch of liberties today and stepped out of my comfort zone, and I hope it wasn't for nothing. Well, there you have it. 7 portraits in 7 mediums, all in one day. I call it the GP Does Self-Portrait Challenge, and I challenge you to do the same. It may not be 7 portraits, and it may only be 2 or 3 different mediums, but it may be fun to try. Also, creating them all in one day might not be for everyone, especially if you have a job. But creating is also different for everybody, and also isn't for everybody. If you had a good time with this video, please let me know. And if you see me do something on YouTube in particular, let me know. I'm trying new things at this moment in time. This shot of all the portraits being created at once is the final mic drop of the video. I'd like to challenge you to do this art challenge, but I don't want to name many people specifically as I don't have any ArtTuber friends. Jim Ether may be the closest one. He was on my podcast and I commissioned his art a few times. Jim Ether, I'm calling you out. Wacky paintings, maybe? You were the first to comment on my portraits, but I know you don't really want to show your face at this point in time. Anyway, I'm on my way to paint some more. Please like and subscribe.